Hello everyone, this is Pico Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you, and we're just quickly going to talk about Black Adam and report on the figures for its opening weekend box office at both US cinemas and international markets. Now there might be spoilers for the movie in this video, so just beware, and you can check out both my non-spoiler and spoiler reviews of the movie, and I'll leave some links within the description. There may also be some spoilers involving other movies within the DC Cinematic Universe, so also take that into account when going into this video. So then we talk about the movie, and when we look at the numbers, and overall the movie itself managed to gross around 67 to 69 million in its opening weekend from Friday the 23rd of October to Sunday the 25th of October 2022. Internationally, the movie has grossed over 140 million worldwide. So after all of the hype and discussion and debate on this movie, and particularly its end credit scene, is this a good total for the DCEU going forward, and does it prove more positive signs for the future of the cinematic universe? Now I'm going to say that overall this is a solid opening when you consider that it's a Black Adam standalone movie, a character that mainstream audiences had very little to no knowledge of. It's also the biggest opening of a solo film for Dwayne Johnson's career, so that was something as well of an achievement. Now at the same time, some perspective has to be found here. This opening total is nothing groundbreaking. It doesn't mean that you're going to get a new era ushered in for the DCEU, where we're going to see all of these movies coming through representing a new phase within the universe. In terms of where we stand currently in terms of the DCEU, we have Aquaman 2, Shazam 2 and Blue Beetle coming up, and assumingly we'd get a third Wonder Woman movie as well. We do as well have the Flash movie coming out in 2023. But after that, there's nothing really else of substance, and this opening doesn't change the status quo, nor does it fix all of the issues that we've previously had within the DCEU. It will be interesting to see what Warner Brothers and David Zaslav think of the results. Were they hoping for something closer to 100 million? Now admittedly I didn't think it would get that, but I thought it would open a bit higher than 67 million, especially when you consider that in terms of a blockbuster event movie, we haven't had anything since Thor Love and Thunder, which opened way back in July. So I felt the anticipation, especially amongst general audiences, of seeing a big massive blockbuster would have worked in the movie's favour and drawn a lot more audiences to go to the cinema. We also have to consider, is 67 million a really high total considering all of the work done, particularly by Dwayne Johnson himself, and all of the multiple interviews and attendances that he's been doing, certainly over the last couple of months, in really pushing the hype for this film, when he's constantly been talking about ushering a new era of the DCEU. They then of course played the trump card of Henry Cavill's Superman, who, as we all know by now if you've seen the film, did make an appearance in the end credit sequence. And that was something that was really spoiled, and I think that was a mistake that it was spoiled, particularly by Dwayne Johnson himself in all of the promotion. I think it would have benefited the film even more so if they had left the end credit scene to a surprise. That would have generated much more hype, particularly on the internet, and that would have maybe perhaps drawn even more audiences to the cinema, doing well for the movie in its second and third opening weekends. But I do think as well the fact that the movie has grossed only, in inverted commas, 67 million, it does once again highlight the fact that perhaps Twitter doesn't reflect reality, and I think this is the biggest mistake that Warner Brothers has made, going way back now in re-releasing the Snyder Cut, the full 4-hour version. This is a lesson that they really have to come out of the bubble of social media and start looking to general audiences into how well a universe is received or a certain interpretation of a character. If the Snyder fan base is truly huge as what many people would have you believe on the internet, then why didn't the movie open to 100 million, especially when he confirmed weeks in advance that Henry Cavill was going to be returning? Now, to play devil's advocate, we could draw comparisons in terms of how the opening compares to Marvel and say that 67 million is relatively on the lower end. That's probably in the ballpark of around Marvel's Phase 2. And to be fair, I wouldn't really compare to Marvel at this stage because the DCEU is nowhere near the achievement or the current status of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So at this stage, I don't think it's really fair to compare any movie surrounding the DCEU into the box office potential of that of Marvel. In fact, the only type of movie that I would compare to Marvel coming from DC would be any movie by Superman or Batman or Wonder Woman or the Justice League. And I think it's almost with a certain certainty to say that these opening figures will definitely be trumped by some considerable distance by the opening of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which opens in around 2 to 3 weeks after this overall release. But when we look back at Black Adam, I think the budget for this film was around 195 million. So if we go by the normal box office rule where you have to double your budget to cover production costs and maybe gross the same amount again to account for marketing, and then anything above that is something of a profit, then Black Adam will probably have to gross at least 600 million, 650 million to be deemed profitable. Now, I did cover this in a previous video where I thought myself that the movie would get close to around 700 million. And at this stage where we're at 140 million so far, I'm probably going to have to assess that prediction a little bit. I think we're probably looking at perhaps 500 to 600 million maximum. As I said before, it's got a good 2 to 3 weeks, and then its release will definitely be affected by Black Panther Wakanda Forever. So if it did get 600 million, would that be a disappointment? I think overall Warner Brothers and Dwayne Johnson were probably hoping for a bit more than 600 million if it does get to that case. But in many ways, if it does only get to a considerable box office take, it will be a good sign in the fact that it will really show us on how well intended that Dwayne Johnson really is in terms of the DC universe. Are they really in it for the long term in terms of building the universe and trying to steer it in the right direction? Or will these box office numbers be deemed as a disappointment? And if they are, will we see all the parties involved swiftly moving on to the next projects? We won't know that until we see what happens in the next upcoming months. But in terms of this opening weekend, as I mentioned before, I think it's solid for Black Adam as a standalone movie. I think it's solid for the DCEU, which overall isn't bad. But at the same time, it doesn't mean all of a sudden that the DCEU is going to come burning through and start conquering Marvel. As I mentioned before, we have to steer away from what Marvel are doing and concentrate much more on the DC heroes and making sure that we adapt them properly and pay proper respect if we are ever going to see some consistent success with the DCEU going forward. So those are my overall thoughts and feelings on the box office opening for Black Adam. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think that this number is a success or a failure? Do you think the future is bright for the DC cinematic universe going forward? Do you think this bolsters further hopes for an emergence of a Henry Cavill Superman sequel? Or do you feel the movie needed to gross more in order to make sure that prospects became a reality? Or do you think the whole thing is a bust and they should really stop after the ongoing projects are released and reboot and start again after the Flash movie? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if we have any other speculation or headlines regarding this movie and also the DC cinematic universe and where it moves forward, and I'll also cover it within the channel. And I'll also take a look at the second weekend of Black Adam and look at how well it retains or how badly it drops, and then provide further coverage on that as well. So let me know what you think in the comments, and if you have any other topics or subject matter or any other movies or television series that you'd like to see me cover within the channel, then also let me know and I will see if I can provide further commentary for you on this platform in the future. Please also hit and like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, stay at safe distances, and I will see you very, very soon.